board's official bulletin board. It has been delivered to the Record and suburbanite newspapers, circulating in the district at least 48 hours prior to the time of this meeting. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jennifer Eisberg. Mrs. Juliana Lee. Here.
The link isn't working.
Mrs. Jennifer Mendoza.
Here.
Mr. Omar Pedraza.
Here.
Mr. Michael Sprague.
Present.
Mrs. Kelly Wilson. Here. Mrs. Heather Garcia.
Here. Okay, can I have a flag salute, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we don't have any correspondences, informal attachments, none. All right, we're going to move on to the audit presentation from Mr. Robert Lurch.
Good evening, President Garcia and members of the board. My name is Robert Lurch. I'm here to present the 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the Norwood District. I'm pleased to report that the district received an unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion that we could give, which tells us that we are unaware of any material misstatements or any fraudulent activity. What I'm going to flip to first, I know that the board members have a copy of the audit. If you turn to page 66, it's the last page of the C1. So the C1 schedule is your budgetary schedule for operations for the year, shows the overall performance of the district. Overall, the district's fund balance in total decreased from $3.2 million to $3 million in the current year. A lot of this is due to the fact that the ESSER ARP funds are now starting to be spent through, so a lot of those funds that you were spending through the ARP and the ESSER now we're going to start to slowly get absorbed back into the operating budget, which might lead to the decrease in the fund balance. Just a note on that, there was $78,000 still left to spend on ARP3, which I believe Ms. Ambrose has spent through 9/30, which was the cutoff date for that grant. So when we're looking at these fund balances, the total fund balance for the district is $3 million. Of this $3 million, the state restricts in certain reserves that you could put this money into. You're not allowed to retain all this money as unreserved fund balance at year end. When we go down this fund balance, I'm just going to go through all the fund balances from top to bottom. The first reserve that the district has set up is the capital reserve. As you can see there, the district has 1.3, 1.4 in capital reserve. That is for money set aside for any capital needs that the district may have or see fit. They can withdraw down from this reserve during the year to cover those capital projects. Your next reserve here is your maintenance reserve. There's $174,000 in your maintenance reserve. Similar to capital, this is a reserve set aside that you can withdraw on during the year. However, this is for your maintenance needs, so any maintenance items for the district. I'm going to skip over the excess surplus real fast and come back to that. The unemployment compensation of $171K is supported by a cash balance. This was part of the GASB 84, where we bring in the unemployment and payroll accounts into your general fund operating account for the audit presentation. This reserve is simply set aside with a cash balance that we bring in. The year-end encumbrances of $165,000, those are commitments that the district has set aside to be paid and are going to be paid in this 24-25 school year. And then lastly there is the designated fund balance of $333,748. This was additional fund balance from last year, a piece of the undesignated unreserved that the district had used to balance their budget on top of the excess surplus that we backed into from last year's audit. Now that brings us to the excess surplus calculations. From last year, there was a $77,952. That is what was put into the 24-25 budget. Now for this year, the district has an excess surplus of $450,000. That $450,000 is what is going to be utilized for your 25-26 budget. Then down at the bottom, the last number there is your unassigned fund balance of $278,909. What this number is the legally restricted number that the state gives. This is your 2% calculation, or $250,000, the greater of your total expenditures. The district this year actually was slightly above the 2% at 273, and then what you're allowed to increase that unassigned balance by is your unbudgeted portions of non-public transportation and extraordinary aid. If the board members would flip a couple pages earlier on the revenue schedule, it's on page 60, you will see those pieces of extraordinary aid and non-public transportation. You were allowed the $5,000 increase because that was the above the budgeted piece for non-public transportation. For extraordinary aid, the district was not allowed to increase their unassigned fund balance as they had budgeted more than was received for the year. So that really goes over the full financial position of the district. There was one item in the back that got written up that was requiring corrective action. Originally, the way this had gotten written in here was a miscalculated stipend earned by an employee. However, through the corrective action and review by Ms. Ambrose, we had noticed that the stipend was calculated correctly. It was mislabeled support for the payroll items. It was for an improper pay period that we had been given support for. So originally we thought it was miscalculated, but it actually was properly calculated. It was actually mislabeled payroll supporting documentation. And that really concludes my presentation. If anybody on the board has any questions.
Any board members have questions?
Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.
Okay, move on to president's statement. In light of the recent rumors and speculation, I would like the opportunity to clarify the position of the Norwood Board of Education. It concerns me that we have reached a point where protests are occurring without a full understanding of the facts. Some are taking the word of individuals who may not have the complete story or may not have all of our children's best interests at heart. Excuse me. I will respect you. You need to respect this board.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
Okay. The other option is if we can't control ourselves and be respectful, then we'll have to bring the police in here. They're not going to escort me out.
We have their support, so they'll come and help.
Right. So the police call me and ask, and I just call them at any time.
Did you call them tonight? You should have.
We have their support.
Okay. I urge everyone to remember that the Board of Education's primary responsibility is to make decisions that benefit all children in Norwood. As you know, the board is not permitted to speak to individual personnel matters. For this reason, even if you come to a board meeting, we are unable to answer your direct questions about any specific personnel decision. Many who come to the board meetings find this frustrating. Please know we find it frustrating as well, as we are often unable to directly address misinformation or rumors. What I can say is when the board makes personnel decisions, we do so with the children in mind first and foremost. Since we put children first, there are a number of policies we live by and items we will not tolerate. I'm not speaking on any specific situation. Discrimination. The board will not accept any form of discrimination within the school district. Insubordination.
I feel the same way about all of you.
Excuse me, if you're going to continue to interrupt, you're going to have to leave.
I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to stop.
Okay, well then we're going to have you removed. So if that's what we need to do to hold off the meeting for a moment, I will then call the police and they will remove you. Is that what we're going to do, or can you let me get through my speech and then we can hear you guys? Insubordination. We will not tolerate insubordination towards superiors. Safety. No employee will be allowed to put a child in harm's way. Favoritism. Any question regarding a child's well-being due to favoritism will not be accepted. Special treatment. Family will not receive preferential treatment due to gifts given to district employees. Disruption. The board will not condone actions that create discord within our school. Policy violations. We will uphold our policies and procedures. Harassment. We will address any failure to follow HIV, harassment, intimidation, and bullying policies that jeopardize student safety. These points reflect the standards that Norwood Board of Education will uphold and are not directed at any specific employee. The Board of Education will not be intimidated or bullied by false claims or speculation. We remain committed to making decisions that prioritize the best interest of the district, even in the face of differing public opinion. While we value community feedback, we also acknowledge that the public may not always have the complete picture. We appreciate your understanding as we navigate these complex issues together. If an employee is terminated or suspended, know that the board has evidence to support this decision. We stand firmly behind our choices and are not afraid of idle threats. As I told the public, I would keep them informed about Mr. Shear's leave. I would like to provide some insight regarding Mr. Shear's current situation. In November, Mr. Shear formally requested a medical leave of absence, which he submitted in writing to the Board of Education. The board reviewed his request and granted the leave, acknowledging his need for time away. Since that time, circumstances surrounding Mr. Shear have evolved significantly. While I cannot disclose specific details due to privacy rights, I want to underscore that the Board of Education is committed to acting in the best interest of all of our students and staff. In light of the recent developments, the board has made a decision to move in a new and constructive direction. It's important to note that this decision was directly influenced by Mr. Shear's actions rather than any decision directly made by the board itself. I understand that there are parents in this community and parents and community members that may feel angry, disappointed, and upset, and we do hear you. As the board president, I'm prepared to shoulder those feelings. I firmly believe that in leadership, I know that the responsibility starts and ends with me. However, what I cannot and what I believe my fellow board members also cannot accept is the idea of going home at the end of the day without peace of mind that we have done what's best for Norwood's children. If faced with a choice between public that is upset and the well-being of the children of Norwood, we will always choose the latter. Thank you. That's my statement. We will move on to superintendent report.
Thank you. Since our last meeting, our students have participated in many positive activities. Before Thanksgiving, our preschool teachers and class parents facilitated Friendsgiving. Our students enjoyed food and treats, and performed songs and gathered to celebrate the holidays. Friendsgiving was a tremendous occasion for our students. This month, our PTO hosted Norwood's Got Talent. Really don't know what to say, how many young people we have in such a small town that demonstrated so much incredible talent on that night. The event was held at NVOT in order to facilitate the huge turnout that occurred. It was really wonderful to see our students participate. So many of you attended our winter concerts. The performances were incredibly moving. The superpower of our students having the ability to move people to emotion using, song and instrument, they should really hone and cherish those talents that they have. This week is Spirit Week at the school. We love seeing our students and staff dive into the themes. It's just good old-fashioned fun, and it's really a great way for us to bring in the holiday season. Basketball for both girls and boys are in full swing. We encourage our community to come out and support our teams. There's some real talent out there. We can see it, and they're developing. It's good to get an early watch on these young people. Finally, today we held a brown bag mentoring luncheon for our teachers new to the district. These meetings that are professional development focused are significant to the induction of teachers to NPS and will impact their success and longevity in their positions and in the profession. We're only days away from the holiday recess. It's a wonderful time of the year to show you care and compassion and love for others. We must not forget that meanwhile, while it is a time of joy and excitement for many, it is also a time where there are some who are experiencing hardship, thinking about loved ones who they miss, and anything that we can do to extend that humanity to those folks is as important and as much as any gift that we can give. That concludes our superintendent.
Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. We didn't have curriculum, right?
Right.
Negotiations and personnel. We did have an initial negotiating meeting on 12/3 with the teachers union that Mr. Sprague, Mrs. Mendoza, and myself attended. We discussed the schedule for next year and also the ground rules, which I don't know if we've completed that or not. I saw them emailed to us, but I don't know if it was completed and signed yet. So that's taken care of, as Mr. Sprague will be taking the lead on negotiations as of January as the head of the negotiations. Okay, so that is negotiations. Building and grounds. We just had a building and grounds meeting to discuss some of the needs the school may have. If any board members have input on any of the needs, any of the things that we absolutely have to have, wants for the school, we want to start looking at those items and start to formulate a plan on to see how we can maybe bring some of those things into the school district. So we just started looking at those things at the school and space and everything along those lines. We did not have finance. Did we have policy? We didn't have policy, right? And we haven't had an official event. Okay. All right. I am going to make a motion to open to the public, but before I do, I want to just remind each public member to state their name and address for the record, to limit their comments, or they will be limited to 5 minutes. You have to be physically present, and I ask that everyone stay respectful in their presentations or comments. With that being said, I'll make a motion to open to the public. Second. Okay, we are open to the public for any off and on agenda items. Please come to the mic for anybody who wants to speak.
Hello, I'm Nurel Hajmahal, and I'm speaking from a student's point of view. In the past few months, 3 of Norwood's best educators have left the school, and 3 of the most impactful humans I've had in my life: Mr. Shear, Miss Kelly, and Mr. Ringo. We are very upset and concerned about what the adults are doing to make sure that some of the most important years of our lives have the most influential people. We feel like there are going to be gaps in important programs, and also it's difficult to keep building relationships with new people. I hope that something can be done, because these years are really important to building the people that we become. We are the people that are really getting hurt from this, and we want to be heard. Thank you for listening.
Before we go any further, could you give me your home address? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, 80 Cobblestone Crossing.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michelle Wesley. I live at 108 Highwood Road in Malva, New Jersey. I don't normally come to speak here. I've only done it one other time before, and the other meeting I spoke to was in April of this past year. So not that many school months has passed since that meeting, and the circumstances and the reasons for which I want to speak tonight are astonishingly similar. During that meeting this past April, we had learned that our superintendent, Mr. Ulmer, was resigning, and staff and families were speaking to the board to beg them to reconsider allowing our director of special services to rescind her resignation. At that meeting, I shared the number of different bosses and administrators that I've had since joining Norwood in February 2017, which is nearly 20. And since that meeting, the only administrator that's still present in this building is our board administrator. The major difference, though, between that meeting and this one is that Rich did not put in a letter of resignation, and his wanting to work here has not wavered. I am here tonight to show my unwavering support of Mr. Shear and to beg the board to make the best choice for our students, who have just spoke, our staff, and our community and allow him to return to work. Mr. Shear has added so much value to our school community. As a boss, he is always there to help when needed, no matter the issue. He's invested in his staff, trusting their expertise, and also offering support when needed. He is hands-on, interacting with our students and teachers consistently throughout the day. You will not find him hiding in his office. He's run clubs and even did his own Eagles Nest group to give opportunities to connect with our students on a level beyond just the principal. He's been in lunchrooms every day to see students interact with their peers, managing behaviors if needed, but also building rapport. Having a strong administrator that you trust is pivotal for our teaching staff, our students, and the culture of our building. You have seen the support he has from community and staff, and you supported him yourselves. Last year when our lower grade principals resigned, our school board stood behind Mr. Shear, being ready and able to be the full building principal for our school. At the end of last year when his contract was up for renewal, our Board of Ed stood behind Mr. Shear again, giving him an 8.5% raise for this school year. He must have been doing something right to earn an 8.5% raise, considering he only made a 3% raise the prior year. That's nearly tripling his salary increase. Sorry, I'm not pausing for drama to lost my spot. Please show this support for him now. Every person on the board has a vote tonight. Omar, you have a vote tonight. You can vote how you wish. Juliana, you get to vote tonight how you wish. Heather, you get to vote how you'd like to wish. Kelly, you as well. Michael, Jennifer, and Jennifer, you all get to vote how you decide you want to vote tonight. You are all elected by the public to represent the public. You have come into this role with the promise and the expectation to have the best interest for our community and our students in mind. Every single one of you can vote yes or no tonight. If it does not feel right, do not say yes. If you are unsure, don't say yes. You can table this, you can talk about it again later. I also want to ask the board to consider changing their policy for opening for public comment. I checked back on old meetings and I know that the public used to have the opportunity to also talk at the end of meetings to make comment. It allows for a bit more conversation and to maintain our transparency. Sometimes not all items are on board agenda for us to discuss. For example, there was an administrator who was put on a medical leave about 4 weeks ago, and that information was walked in after it had already been closed to public comment. This didn't allow the public to have an opinion about that or discuss it. This, again, each of you have an opportunity tonight to vote exactly how you wish, what feels right in your hearts. You do not need to make a decision in haste. You do not need to feel rushed to make a decision because of what is discussed behind closed doors. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Hill, Norwood Education Union President. You said that you keep the children at Norwood in mind. I'd like you to answer if you've asked the children in Norwood how they feel about hiring, keeping, or firing Mr. Shear. You haven't asked us either. You're hearing information from maybe one person in this building. Where's our buy-in? Where's our opinion? We work day in and day out with this community's children. We work with Mr. Shear. More so, we see him more so than we probably see our own families or any of you. It's really disheartening that you wouldn't take our opinions, how we feel. Ask us. You make a decision based on minor infractions maybe that you're hearing about. I don't think any of the children in Norwood, the middle schoolers, were even asked. I'm going to read you what I prepared tonight, which really doesn't matter because he's on here as being terminated anyway. If you truly cared about the kids here at NPS, you would allow Mr. Shear to come back to school. In my email to each of you in November in support of Mr. Shear, I cited numerous reasons and situations that you may not be aware of how Mr. Shear impacts and supports the students, teachers, and community. Just the other day, an 8th grader told me that Mr. Shear is the only administrator since he's been here that knows his name. We have middle schoolers who may not have a stable father figure at home and look up to Mr. Shear on a daily. He's the type of principal who knows when a kid might be going to a Yankee game over the weekend, so that on Monday he makes it a point to ask the student, how was the game? Mr. Shear checks in on kids and does the little things that makes the kids feel heard. He does this out of the kindness of his heart, not for accolades. These past 6 weeks have been traumatic for the kids. The rumors that are circulating are awful and untrue. Small infractions that you are accusing him of does not warrant putting him out. How do you do this to a family man? You're hearing from one source what goes on in this building. At our faculty meeting last week, teachers brought up the fact that Mr. Shear not being present in the hallways, lunchtime in the cafeteria, pop-ins to our classrooms, or hanging out with kids in the gym during arrival time. Students are not monitored enough, and behavior problems are happening. We were told that a principal performing lunch duty in the cafeteria or in the hallways and classrooms is a waste of time. They should be in their office writing policies. I guess that's the change of direction that the Board of Ed is going to after 2 years. Thank you.
Nancy Warner, 28 John Circle. I wanted to address Mrs. Hill's comment about asking the students. I would like to read a letter that my son Holden wanted to share with the group. Dear Board of Ed, Mr. Shear has made a huge impact on me. In October 2023, I got a concussion. It was very rough because it was hard to pay attention with a throbbing headache and light sensitivity all around me. Also, I was really sensitive to noise and even had to wear earplugs and sunglasses in school. This was made especially hard for me because in middle school, people are going to look and stare, but not Mr. Shear. He stepped in and supported me with whatever I needed. For example, he let me have lunch with him in his office with the lights low and even let me bring friends to keep me company. He also asked the teachers to be a little extra cautious with the noise levels and requested they dim the lights a little. He would also come check in on me during class or when I would see him in the halls. Furthermore, I got to see an extra fun side of him because he was my Eagles Nest advisor. He always brought in the most engaging activities and even let us decide what to do on occasion. In September, we did this cool spider web activity and we all had to untangle it together, and this brought everyone closer and was such a great icebreaker. In October, he brought in a couple of haunted house gingerbread kits for us to decorate as a group. I think I speak for everyone, but he was the best principal this school has ever had or ever will have. Overall, he has impacted me and so many other people with his kind and selfless acts. He was the greatest principal and one of the kindest people I've ever met. Thank you for listening. Sincerely, Holden Warner.
Rachel Skank, 115 Kensington Avenue. Good evening. First, I wanted to take a moment and thank you for all that you do. I know it's a lot of responsibility and a lot of work, and you do devote a lot of time to us. That said, I've come here tonight as a longtime Norwood resident who attended this very school. Growing up, I looked forward to getting older and having some of the same incredible teachers that my family members or older friends told me about year after year. Back then, nobody left. There was a stability, consistency, and strong sense of community within our school walls. But now we see a complete turnover every single year, and I have to ask why. Why are teachers choosing to leave Norwood? Even if it means pay cuts, driving longer distances, or accepting jobs that are less than ideal. That says something. What we're hearing from those who have left is deeply troubling. Teachers have shared that the work environment isn't good. So I ask, what's happening in our leadership? What is the difference in the role of a principal and a superintendent? How do they each contribute creating a school climate where teachers and students thrive? I also feel it's important to address the situation with our principal, Mr. Shear, who is currently on medical leave. Despite this, his entire family is here tonight in support of him, a testament to their commitment to this school and the community. Yet we've learned his email's been turned off and he's not allowed on the campus. Even more shocking is that, as noted in tonight's agenda, Mr. Shear is on the docket to get fired, and we're proactively dating it to November 12th, which, if he's on medical leave, is suspicious. How is it possible? You know? He should be protected and supported. And his termination during this time, a good experience for the children, or do you think he's sick? This raises a serious question about how our district treats its leaders and its staff. Another issue that cannot go unnoticed is transparency. Transparency isn't just about sending daily or weekly emails to parents telling us what you think we want to hear. Real transparency means addressing the harder questions. Why can't we afford buses for sports anymore? Why is the book vending machine empty? What are the positions that need to be filled in the school? Who's coming? Who's going? These are things our community has the right to know and understand. Additionally, there's another concern that impacts the heart of our school community, and I believe our president did address that. HIBs, harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases. These are coming in at a record pace. They're everywhere right now. This doesn't just reflect poorly on the students, it's also on the district. It impacts the well-being of our children. It's something that we must address immediately and proactively. Amidst all these changes, there's been one constant. Mr. Sprague, who's been serving on the board since 1987. I'll be honest, there was a time when I looked at Mr. Sprague's longevity as a potential issue, wondering if a fresh perspective was needed, but I've come to realize what a tremendous asset he truly is. His years of service give him a wealth of knowledge and a historical insight that this district can lean on as we navigate these challenges. I stand here tonight not to criticize, but to ask the tough questions. Why do we have so much turnover? Why do teachers feel unsupported? Why are we seeing salutations like the one with Mr. Shear? Why does this district not look and feel the way it used to? And most importantly, what are we going to do about it? Norwood deserves answers, and more importantly, we deserve solutions. Thank you for listening, and I hope this sparks some more conversation.
Gina Shear, 40 Alberta Drive, Saddlebrook, New Jersey. I just want to take a moment on behalf of the Shear family, myself, my husband, my daughter, and my son, to thank everyone here for coming out tonight for support, for the unwavering support of this community for the past couple of months. Thank you for knowing Richie and knowing and the person that he is. He loves this district. He loves Norwood. This is his second home. He lives and breathes for his students and staff. I know this because I live with him. He left our son's surgery to come back to work. And he didn't do that for an accolade. He didn't do that for an award. He did that because he cares about these students. So if you can sit here and you can tell me and this community that you're making best decisions based on the best interests of the students, you should be ashamed of yourself. This is his life. This is our life. He loves this community, and he will continue to fight for this community because he is that invested. You lost a gem. He did nothing wrong. Nothing. Maybe you should do more homework. My children know this building. My daughter is asking, when can I come back to your office, Daddy? My son goes to daycare in this community. People are asking me, is your husband sick? Where is he? I work down the street. I have worked in this valley for over 11 years. I am blown away. Richie loves these kids. He loves this staff. He would do anything for them. I have no words. I hope you all think about this, and I hope you make a decision based on what you're hearing tonight and what he's done for this school and what he's done for these students. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your support, all the students. It's much appreciated, and it is not gone unheard. Thank you.
Deirdre Kessler, 35 Windsor Court. A week ago, many of us were here for the wonderful concert, third and fourth graders. Dr. G, you made a comment that you will always remember your music teacher. I believe that is correct. When I was my daughter's age, my music teacher was Karen Bullen, the mother of Courtney Bullen, a former music teacher here. So my daughter, when she started kindergarten, had a teacher whose mother was my teacher, full circle. That year, Courtney Bullen was, as a board, did tenure charges on. Being in education myself, I know that warrants certain things, and I didn't think it really justified bringing tenure charges. And I stood in the same room, and I said, this is going to create huge lawyer bills. And that was a concern of mine. I believe now Courtney Bullen it's not had tenure charges, but we dragged that out for months. And I would love to know how much of lawyer bills were spent on that. I listened to that, I forget the math teacher a few months ago when she talked about the opening day in this room and about different administrators and different administrators and different administrators. And I listened to it and I couldn't believe it because I come from such a different place. I could probably give our opening ceremony. So I will give you a little part of it. It actually, since about 2007, towards the end of our opening ceremony, it's called the Paul Hi Meister Award. Paul Hi Meister was a principal at Bergenfield High School in the 1950s, which is now, which at that time was our middle school, which is now named Roy W. Brown, named after a former superintendent who was the superintendent of Bergenfield Schools for 39 years. I spoke months ago saying I come from a district with strong administration, and that is true. Paul Hi Meister, a student came into his office with his parents, and as the story goes, is that he wanted to drop out of high school. Why he wanted to drop out of high school was he was offered to join a band with Chuck Berry, which I forget the name of it. The student was Bob Gallio, the Jersey Boys. To his absolute dismay, Paul Hofmeister told his parents, let him go. If it doesn't work out, we'll come back. He can come back and we'll get him his high school diploma. Over 50 years later, he was invited back to Bergenfield High School and we gave him an honorary diploma. He thanked his high school principal for believing in him. Somebody who's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame remembered his high school principal and believing him, so we call it the Inspirational Award. I worry that my children are not going to remember who their principal was. But I come from a town where somebody who didn't even graduate high school, but became part of a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he's thanking his principal for believing in him and inspiring him. So when you go to vote, I want you to think about that our children have not had consistency. Consistency in education is so important. It is not a walk in the park to work in Bergenfield, I will tell you that. But we have what has saved us. And actually even the guy from the New Jersey Board Association said, when I sat there on our strategic planning committee, your biggest strength is your consistency in administration and staff. That is what is missing in this town. I grew up in Bergenfield, thought I was going to give my children a better life coming to here, and all I see is constant changing in administration. I can name the superintendents on one hand at Bergenfield: Roy W. Brown, Rocco Montesano, Dr. Galish, Dr. Kuchar, Current one, Dr. Tully. 100 years on one hand. My children have been here, my daughter's in 6th grade, 3. Thank you.
Sarah Lucero, 310 Kensington Avenue, Norwood, New Jersey, 07648. A proud member of this community. Usually I'm here with like a little joke, but I'm not happy. And no one here is happy. So I'll start with a quote. It is not only for what we do that we are held responsible, but also for what we do not do. Leadership is building a legacy of impact, not a monument of ego. Ooh. You clap for me. I guess the only time most people think about injustice is when it happens to them. Dear fellow members of the NPS parent community and esteemed members of the Norwood Public School Board of Education, we've come together today because we care deeply about the future of our children and our school. We know that leadership is challenging, but the time has come for open, honest dialogue. Many of us are tired and frustrated with the lack of transparency surrounding key decisions that are affecting our community. And we are here to ask for answers and to find solutions. Dr. Garage, we need your leadership now more than ever. We've heard too many stories of fear, frustration, and confusion within our school. It's time to restore trust. And that starts with openness and accountability. We're not here to criticize or to tell you what to do, but to ask for your help in rebuilding our community's faith in the decisions being made. Our community has been deeply impacted by the departure of key figures, most recently, Principal Richard Shear, and even more recently, Delia Durango. These individuals have made a lasting impact, a lasting difference in the lives of our children, and their absence is felt by all. We respectfully ask for clear, factual explanations regarding these departures, as we believe the answers you provide will shape the future of our district. We understand that decisions don't happen overnight, but it seems that the signs of a struggling system are being ignored. And with each departure, the heart of our community weakens. We need to know that the mental health and well-being of both our students and staff are truly priorities, not just in words, but in actions. And this is not the first time you've heard Sarah Lucero come up here and say this. It doesn't have to be an adversarial relationship. It doesn't have to. As taxpayers, we are deeply invested in the success of this district. We are not questioning your intentions, but we are urging you to align your actions with the needs of our children and their educators. We cannot continue to operate in the dark, relying on vague explanations and misleading information. We want to believe that there's a path forward where trust can be rebuilt and our schools can thrive. We are ready to work with you, but we need to see a shift in the way decisions are made and communicated. Let's restore hope and stability for our children and our dear educators. Let's bring light back into our schools and work together to build a stronger, more transparent Norwood. Thank you.
Good evening, board, members of the community and staff. I had no intention on coming here tonight, and I don't admire any of you sitting up on this board tonight. As you know, I sat up there with you, some of you. And I know that you know things that we don't know. And that's why probably we're here tonight. But what I do know is that when I'm sitting at home with my wife and I see Mr. Shear's wife get up, something says to me, whoa, we need to slow down. We need to slow down. Those were some pretty impressive words. And if he did so wrong, if he was so wrong, God knows she would know about it. But she came here tonight pleading her case to this board. I know we don't know all the facts, but I do know this. The board members tonight have the ability to remove the resolution to terminate. Take a breath. Let's try to work it out. If there was a personality conflict, work it out. This man is vested in the town. He has a family. Look, unless it's something so egregious, which I can't believe it could be, take a month. I mean, for God's sakes, we're going to terminate the man? Christmas is Wednesday. Let's think about this. Pull it from the agenda, and let's have some discussion. This is not, I am not criticizing. Believe me, I know the situation that you're all in. I've sat in it myself, whether it be up here, whether it be on the council. Personnel issues, they stink. And none of you get paid enough to deal with it, right? You are our biggest asset in Norwood. This school is our biggest asset. When word gets around the county, when word gets around the towns that you have issues, they're all of our issues. And we all need to come together to solve those issues. The governing body, the Board of Ed, the staff, the parents. Please just, all I'm asking you is to put the brakes on, guys.
Hi, Nurel Hajmahal, 80 Cobblestone Crossing. I came here with one thing to say, which I will still get to, but I think a lot of what we heard tonight has been super impactful. And to your point, hearing Mr. Shear's wife get up here and speak, it raises suspicions about what is going on. I am begging you, like many have as well, to reconsider this. This man has been so impactful. I mean, you heard my daughter speak. You heard the teachers speak. These are people that have been disciplined by Mr. Shear. These are people that are evaluated by Mr. Shear. And I'll tell a quick story for anyone that does know my daughter, who I love so much. She has a tendency to come up with various entrepreneurial businesses that borderline things she shouldn't be doing. And in one case, she had gotten a hold of my credit card and been purchasing, I thought for herself, candy in bulk. And she was, yes, and I apologize to everyone whose children bought her candy. But she was selling it for profit. And the idea behind it, and actually if you hear a lot of people speak about entrepreneurial spirit, it always starts with a candy distribution business, usually on a bus in New York City. And she was so proud of herself, and we're trying to kind of navigate this with her. And she had shown up to Mr. Shear's office 3 times, a lot of times. And he spoke to her about it. And he brought her on a journey of how do we take this spirit and what do we do with it? She was being reported constantly on it, but he spoke to her about where can we sell this? How can we talk to students about doing this? and really educated her on what do you do, also disciplined her, don't get me wrong, but what do you do and how do you handle this? And so again, like many people have said, guys, you have a choice tonight. If you need more time to think about this based on what you hear, I think that's incredibly reasonable. But the trust of the community is lost right now, and it's lost because there's a claim of lack of transparency, but again, completely respect that a lot of things can't be said. But when you go from double downing on this is a medical leave to suddenly, actually 45 minutes before the meeting, this is a retroactive termination, there is a lot of confusion. I think there needs to be a lot more time to process this, to think about it, and to think about what this means for our community. And now I did have something I was going to read, so I'll go to that. And so over the past 10 years in this community, I've never seen such a level of rumors, confusion, and frustration as we're experiencing now. While some of these rumors may stem from elements of truth, the sheer volume and lack of clarity have created a situation that feels unique. And while this may feel uncommon for our community, it's not uncommon to experience this in general. And so when tensions and confusions reach a level, I think about what do I do in my work environment? And something that would be typical, and I wrote to the board about this, I would love to see a 360-degree listening exercise. And we've had a bit of that today. And this sort of exercise can help us identify what the core issues actually are, because right now there's just rumors, there's confusion, there's lots of gossip, and that's not solving anything. And so, this would help us move beyond complaints and conflict to actionable insights, which I believe is what this community needs right now. And so with that being said, I want to put on the table 2 options for consideration. The first is, and it's not difficult to find, and I've offered, happy to help find a third-party anonymous listening survey consulting company that can help us really gather the perspectives of key stakeholders. So our current administration, teachers, other school professionals, the board, right? You guys also have concerns that you're dealing with, and let's start to compile it and get to the core of the issue. And then my second suggestion, and if we aren't doing this already, I do urge the district to implement exit interviews, potentially compiled and anonymous, because people are fearing retaliation. I've heard it, I'm sure everyone's heard it. Nobody ever wants to speak up, and I think this sort of exit interview, again, can get us to what the core of the problem is and how we can solve it. And that's all I got. So thank you all.
Well, hello everybody. Anthony Hajmahal, 80 Cobblestone Crossing. I don't think I could top any of what was already said. So I threw away my script, and my signs are going to go away. I want to thank everybody. I think everybody here in the community and the board as well, putting in a lot of time to try and figure this out. It's really sad that somebody's livelihood is the subject of discussion tonight. But I guess the silver lining is that we're brought together as a community with one purpose, and that purpose is to build a better future for Norwood. It starts with us, it starts with me, what we say, what we do, and how we try and unify. So I think that's the message. This is unfortunate, but it's an example, an opportunity I think we can all take and maybe grow really strong from. The members of this board, I was there to vote for many of you. I was there when you were running. I was reading all about the things that you were going to do. So some of you remember I was literally front and center, congratulating, being proud, being happy. You were asked to be in these positions for a reason, to represent us, the community of Norwood, the taxpayers. We trust that you will value that tonight, as I know that you always do, and think about what you have the chance to perhaps change tonight. And that would be the level of trust that is eroded. Maybe possibly tonight you can rebuild it. I think it's important that you really think it through. The consequences are grave because the trust has to be rebuilt somehow. If not tonight, then how? What other way will there be? What other opportunity that we will have to build trust? I have no answer to that. But I do have the answer, which is exactly what Tony said. Take a break. There's no rush into this. None. None. Except the rush that you feel, that you have an urgency within inside of you to want to execute on. All right? So I ask that you do that, and hopefully we can all really turn this into something very positive for the employees of the district, for the children, for these young people who we know very, very well. Remember, we're a super small community. We walk the dog, we see each other, how you doing? We know our dogs' names. We go to the park, it's like, oh, there's that one running again, right? Oh, I see that one playing ball. We know each other. So don't lie. Don't lie. Because we know, Dr. G, I'm looking straight at you. Don't lie. Because we know. So stop that. Work to develop the teachers. Work to develop yourself. Work to develop the other leaders that you are supposed to mentor and grow. Don't cut them up with a million little cuts and then watch them die. Don't do that. We know what you did. Change it. All right? The consequences also for you, and that your evaluation is going to be coming up. I hope it's going to be one that's positive. Right now, I couldn't imagine that it's going to be. Have a wonderful night, everybody. I urge you all to make the right choice.
Am I allowed to say something else?
You have like 2 minutes left on your time. Go for it.
Oh, you're counting?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Sarah Lucero, 310 Kensington Avenue, Norwood, New Jersey.
Use it up your time. It's okay. I wanted to take this moment because I wasn't in the building when Mrs. Shear spoke, but I just wanted to say thank you for coming to speak, because I think that we felt that Rich was a part of our family, but to see you here means a lot. And your parents are here. His parents are here. Mom and his mom.
Yep.
So we've met your daughter and your son. They've come to like every production that we've had here. All of the shows, they're always here, and Rich is so proud of them and introduces us all to them. And he's really a part of the fabric of Norwood. And whatever the board's decision is, please know that our love for him will never change. And I'm sure many people at home watching. There's 117 people watching. We all know. We have to remember that a lot of what happens and what's allowed to happen is because of misinformation or a lack of information. So when people are in the elementary school, they're not as in tune to what's happening in the middle school. So if you can talk to your friends and family, Norwood, who's at home watching, let them know that we love Rich, we love Delia, and we're sorry to see them go. Thank you.
Hi, Jen Barba, 9 Fresco Lane. We ran right here from Newark Airport, straight off the flight. I don't have anything prepared, but I just felt compelled to talk. And I think, as a lot of you might know, I often come a day late and $1 short to things, and I'm like flying by the seat of my pants, but I'm really trying hard. I think I'm the only single mom of choice in this community, and I got 3, and they're a lot of trouble. And you know who had grace for me was Dr. Shear. And he said to me, not just my kids, he said to me, take a breath once in a while. I think he really saw me. And he saw my kids not just for like the haywireness that they are, but actually for the boys that they are. And I'm gonna be short and sweet, but I'm gonna let you know that no one can tell Rex and Wyatt apart, but Dr. Shear could. And he knew them.
Wyatt Detlef, 9 Fresco Lane. I didn't have a speech. No, none. But Mr. Shear was a really good principal. He always, it's not like a regular, he wasn't, all the other principals, like, I feel like I could really open up to him. Like, I feel like I trusted him. And, like, I don't get why he left why he's getting fired. It's kind of unfair, but I think that y'all should really think about the decision you're making, because this could impact a lot of students. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Bye bye.
I'm out of breath. I had no intention to be here. My name is Dr. Suzanne Solomon. I have been a resident of Norwood for 14 years. I pay $45,000 a year in taxes to live in this town. And I wasn't going to come. I didn't want to get involved. I said, okay, I'll stay home and I'll watch it. And I wasn't feeling well. The police and fire department were just at my house because we just had a fire. Literally, they just left. Norwood Fire Department, Norwood Police, all up on the dispatch. You can see it. But I was watching this and I felt so compelled by Jesus. And I will say that because I felt like, what would Jesus want me to do, whether you believe in him or not? And I said he would want me to be here to say that I really hope everyone looks at this thoroughly and I think that there can be more dialogue. I just really do. I think that everyone can work together. I think that no matter your differences, you can come together. That's the beauty of this country, of this place. That's why we are here. And I couldn't stand there. I'm like shaking because I'm like, I hope I can make it. But I encourage everybody here to really think about everything. Look at all the facts. Mr. Shear was an amazing asset to us. And when I saw his wife speak, I just said, I'm going to go. I don't care. And I just really want him, I really would like everyone to think about what is the right thing to do. And I don't think terminating someone who has a family, if they didn't do something terrible, is the right thing. That's not what I would do for my employees. That's not what has been done. And I just wanted to do what was right, that I believe that God would want me to do, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily Moylan, 48 Burlington Street. I'm very upset and shaking. I'm going to try to get through this without crying. But I am lucky. I get to be in the school a lot. I'm a stay-at-home mom. And I, for the past 9 years, have dedicated a lot of my time to this building. And I will tell you that when Rich started here, I felt a complete shift in the energy, in the hallways, in the lunchroom. I was PTO president here. I served on the board for many years. The first time I got to really work closely with him was when we decided what to do with some of the excess PTO funds we had. And it was really important for him to do something for the kids. He didn't want to spend it on, curriculum, and even though that's very important, but he really wanted a space for kids. He saw kids that didn't have someone to sit with at lunch. He saw kids that were having a bad day at home. He saw kids that needed some extra time to take their tests in a place that they felt comfortable. And that's when that lounge was created in the library, and that was all Rich. He and I worked very closely on trying to create a space for students for a multitude of reasons. So I'm not going to say anything that no one has said tonight, but a couple of other instances I just want to talk about his character. He was caring. He checked up on my kids when they weren't in school for a few days. Are they sick? Is everything okay at home? He, most recently, a friend of ours just lost a parent. And when I was standing in that line at that wake, he was there by himself, standing in the calling hours line. And I saw him and gave him a wave. And I just thought, it doesn't really happen anymore. People are so busy and people are so concerned with being selfish. And that's the opposite of him. He brought his kids to meetings. He brought he would constantly run to get Cooper and pick him up from daycare in order to make it to the basketball game, to show him in time. These are the things that are important to me. There's so much chaos and evil and awful things happening in the world, and to feel the warmth and kindness from someone that your children spend most of their day with. Our kids spend more time here than they do at home. And when I heard first that he was sick, I was beside myself. And I reached out to him, and to later find out that he is not sick by his family, and to learn of what has really transpired was really sickening and disheartening to me. So I just wanted to say that I do hope you do the right thing. I feel a difference in this building when he's not here. He was the principal that wheeled the TV in when the Yankees had a big game. He was the principal that let one of our special needs students play that piano during lunch once a week for his peers. That's the kind of person that he was. So thank you.
So I have more time still or no?
Yeah. I just wanted to bring up one more thing, just based on Emily with her talking about his character. And I think we need to remember that last year we lost our superintendent, we lost our lower grade principal, and Mr. Shear stepped up and ran the school without one hiccup. Kids still got reprimanded if they were bad. They still, teachers probably got written up if there was something wrong. Everything went on. We had no issues. He was begged to stay here for that, to take over those roles and to be everything all in one. And this is how we thank somebody for keeping our district afloat. It just doesn't feel like we're doing anything in a good nature. And that's not what Norwood is about. It's not what we've ever been about. Norwood is a loving, warm community that, like I said prior, I grew up here. This is where I wanted to live so that my kids could feel the same thing I felt. And I feel bad. I don't even know if this is the right place for the kids if they want a loving community. So let's bring this back to a kind, caring, supportive community where, we love our students and care for our teachers and we'll all treat each other with respect. It's important. It's how we grow strong.
Hi, I am Parker Hajmahal, AD Cobblestone Crossing. Mr. Shear was the best principal ever. I am only in 3rd grade, but I want my voice heard. Mr. Shear always had a smile on his face, went out of his way to say hi to me in the hall. This made me happy every morning. I want him back.
Hi, Darlene Cabrera, 175 McKenna Drive. I just want to say to the board, thank you for your commitment and your time. It's not easy. What I will say is, although we are a community that comes together, there's been previous PTO presidents, previous board members, teachers from the past, from the present, that have all come together, put their differences aside, and said, we are going to do what's best for the kids. You have all said that you're going to do what's best for the kids. What's best for these kids is consistency. I said at the last meeting, and I'll say it again, these kids need consistency. We have put our differences aside as a community. We've talked about religion, maybe even some politics. We've put that aside. Put your differences aside. And I ask you to do what is right for these children. Give these children the consistency that they need so they can walk through those doors and feel safe. So that these teachers can go in those classrooms and teach freely and openly and give our kids the best education that they deserve and what our tax dollars are paying for. So I ask you again to please, in your heart, reconsider or rethink and step back and think, this is someone's son, this is someone's husband, this is someone's father. What would you do if you were in those shoes? Thank you.
Good evening.
Mehmet Özdemir, 21 Carter Street. I got confused. I just want to clear. You guys sent it the email. He was on medical leave, and you guys sent it email. If you want to send it to him gift or any something message. And I want to ask his wife. He's not here. He was on medical leave or?
Wait, hold on. You have to address the board. You can't address the,
So he was on medical leave? The question.
it's comments.
Okay.
She can't answer.
He's not on
questions. You have
medical
to make
leave. He's not
comments.
sick.
Thank you.
Wait, hold on. Can he, excuse me, sir? Can you restate your name? We didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
Mehmet Özdemir, 21 Carter Street.
21 Carter, Emmett.
Mehmet.
Mehmet. Okay, got it. Okay. Thank you, sorry.
Thank you.
One last comment. I gotta have a few seconds left, right, Heather?
You got 1 minute, Tony.
All right, thank you. There's something going on. And unfortunately, Dr. Grage, this board is relying on you and your information for that. The fact is that everyone was told it was a medical leave. And the fact is that that's a lie. The fact is that he was suspended. Bergen County is a funny area. Our departments have families in surrounding towns not far away. Northern Valley, the Pascack Valley. We have police personnel that live all over this county that are friends with Board of Ed members in other towns. When I hear that this individual now searching for another position is having people contact the other boards of ed and putting him in a negative light, that makes me sick. I'm going to say this to this community. There's going to be an exit interview. One way or another, there's going to be an exit interview. And if it's not held here, it'll be at 287 Summit Street at my house. We're going to get to the bottom of this. If we find out that things were held back, well, then the community is going to speak. Dr. Grage, I'm asking you tonight. You're new here in town, but you're not new to the Valley. You have the ability tonight, go into closed session and hold off on this. Because this is not going to be something that's going to get swept under the rug.
No way.
Barbara Battaglia, 7 John Circle. I am standing here as the mother of Kayla and Christopher Battaglia. That is my role tonight. For many of you who know me, you all know I live in a bubble because of who I am. I am here tonight as Kayla and Christopher's mother. You want to know what is right for Norwood Public School? Mr. Shear is right for Norwood Public School. I too am a single mom of 3. And Mr. Shear picked up a lot of the pieces for my children. He was there when Miss Kelly left. He stood up for our students. He took care of our children. All I have to say is Mr. Shear is right for Norwood Public School and our children. Our children are suffering. Our children are so very sad. We need to get him back. Thank you.
name's Camille Tavares, 606 Derrickle Court, Norwood, New Jersey. This is not easy for me to be here. This is not easy for me to say this. I can't be here without being a former teacher, a proud former teacher of Norwood. I can't be here without being a proud co-worker of Miss Eisberg in Hallworth. I am here as all of those things. I'm here as some of your children's former teachers. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm here on behalf of Rich Shear and who he is as a person and what he brings to people. This place still is my family. This place is my home. And when I think of your kids, my number one priority, whether I am their teacher or if I see them out in public, is their safety, is their happiness, is their health. And that's the same as Rich. I would trust Rich with my life. I would trust him with your kid's life. If I had a child, I would trust him with their life. He only does right by people. That's all he does. When your kids need someone to meet them with humanity, he will do that. No questions asked. He will give them grace. Yes, if it warrants it, he'll reprimand them, but it's not without an opportunity to restore themselves and evolve. He doesn't see people for their mistakes. He brings out the best in people. He brings out the best in a community. This is what he does. He brings people together in the best of times, in the worst of times. And I'm just speaking to you on behalf of Rich, and again, on behalf of your children. He will do right by them. And when you have your safety, you can do anything. If you don't feel safe, what really can you do? Thank you.
Do you have anybody else who wants to speak?
Hi, Adrian Rinaldi, 130 Briarwood Avenue. This is my worst nightmare, so bear with me. But for Mr. Shear, I will do this. I have two middle schoolers who absolutely adore that man, and has always been the case. And recently we had a passing in the family, and I didn't know what to do. And we're getting text messages from my daughter saying that she's so upset she doesn't know what to do in school. And at that point, they didn't know the guidance counselors, and I emailed Mr. Shear right away. And he said, he called me right away. He goes, I just left with Peter. And at least my next visit, I just knew we had an advocate in the school. I mean, the teachers are beyond the most amazing, incredible humans also, but I just knew that my kids had somebody that they could go to. So, Ms. Shear, I know we've met before, but here we are again, and not better terms, worse terms, if any other terms, but I just think that he was a bright light for our school, and I really hope he comes back. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
I don't know how much time I have left. I mean, if people keep saying table it, I'm sure you're being advised by legal.
But if we're hearing that this was not medical leave, and we were told it was medical leave, I personally think there probably is a legal case. And I will speak again that I am concerned that we're going to be spending taxpayer fees on lawyers and not on educating our children. And that is a very big concern of mine. And I think you need to start, I'm not in the lawyer field. And actually, Kaylee at the career fair said, I had to say to Paul, she says, I will never be a lawyer, whatever he said at that career fair. But I would ask, Mr. Sprague, you're the lawyer. I hope that you asked many great questions. When you're making this decision, is this going to cost the district a lot of money? Mr. Sprague, I don't know if you remember when my daughter was in kindergarten, you and I went at each other. It's not supposed to be a thing. And through the years, I have seen you change. So I hope that you will make, as a lawyer, the best decision for the taxpayers to make sure the money is spent on educating children and not on lawsuits. Thank you.
Fina Flores, 125 Mills Avenue. I'm disheartened. I'm disheartened because we came here from another town as a minority family, and my oldest daughter came with a lot of gaps, different gaps. And when I came to the school district, I remember one of the things that she would consistently say to me was that her principal, Mr. Rich Shearer, championed her. His kindness was infectious. He was consistently checking on her in the hallways and ensuring that she was academically achieving and becoming more successful. As a student, he wanted to ensure that she was more confident in the abilities that she was gaining. And as a parent, you can put a price on that. And I have to say that he was globally aware and culturally sensitive every single time I had a conversation with him. My children adore him. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about him because he really championed my family and I and encouraged us to continue to achieve and to raise a standard to ourselves. So I want to say to each and every one of you, with the utmost respect that I have for each and every one of you, that my children, my little ones, I am very sad for them because they will not have a Mr. Shear here, like my oldest daughter had a Mr. Shear here to champion her. And that breaks my heart. And if Mr. Shear is listening, I do want him to know that you made a great impact on my family, and you will never forget this.
Does anybody else want to speak? Okay, I will make a motion.
I want to say one last thing. Sorry. I just want to say to his mother sitting in this room right there, you've heard all of us speak. We want to say thank you to you for raising the man that he is.
To close to the public. Second. You had a time, sorry. Put up twice. Okay. All right. So we close to the public. Still early. Okay, so we're going to move on to approval of minutes for November 12th and December 9th for regular and executive session. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Second? Hold on. We're already closed.
Come on.
30 seconds.
Can not let an 8th grader speak?
Open.
Child, please. I mean, let him talk, please.
Can you just give him 1 second?
Okay, hold on 1 second. We'll make a motion to open just for this one comment.
Thank you.
Make a motion to open to the public for this one comment. Second.
Hi, you guys already know my name. I don't have to state it. I'm publicly known out there. All right.
Well, for the record, can you say it?
Yeah, my name is Joseph Verlow, and I live on 301 Livingston Street. And I just want to say that what you guys are doing is just wrong. I mean, Mr. Shear has been the best thing that's ever happened in this school, and he's just been a safe place for me and my entire life. Like, he changed the course of my life. And not to mention, I ran here just to speak. I'm in Crocs. I came out of bed. Like, yeah, I could go into his office whenever he wanted. Like, just to talk to him freely. And just seeing you guys kick him out like this, it's just sad.
Make a motion to close to the public. Second. Okay, now on to approval of the minutes. Can we move to approve minutes November 12th through December 6th? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Second. Okay, does anybody have questions on the minutes? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Eisberg? Yes. Mrs. Lee? Yes. Mrs. Mendoza?
Yes.
Mr. Pedraza?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Garcia? Yes.
Okay, can we move on to administrative items?
Sure. Administrative items, fire and security drills. This month we conducted a school security drill, and we still have an outstanding fire drill. Appointed positions, these are required positions needing to be filled. This is for approval of those appointed positions. Item number 3, approval of the 25-26 school calendar. Item number 4, that concludes administrative items.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve administrative items 1 through 3? Second. Does any of the board members have any questions on administrative items 1 through 3? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Eisberg? Yes. Mrs. Lee? Yes. Mrs. Mendoza?
Yes, but I'm going to abstain on 3. I have not had the opportunity to review the calendar.
Mr. Pedraza?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Garcia?
Yes. Okay, can we move on to personnel, please?
Item number 1 is a medical leave of absence. Item number 2 is a maternity leave. Item number 3 is approval of a musical intern. Item number 4 is support for students at extracurricular activities. Item number 5 is an ESL lunch fund program supervision. Item number 6 is the appointment of a paraprofessional. Item number 7 is the appointment of a paraprofessional. Item number 8 is the appointment of a substitute. Item number 9 is the resignation of Ms. Durango. I wish her well. Item number 10 is the appointment of business administrator board secretary. Item number 11 is the appointment of a custodian of records. Item number 12 is the approval of officer for bidding and purchasing. Item number 13 is approval for public agency compliance officer. Item number 14 is approval of a paraprofessional. Item number 15 is approval of termination of an employee. Item number 16 is further approval of approval of a termination. What is it?
It's a clause. Yeah, it's a separate, it's a contract.
Item number 17.
We don't have all the pages, Cheryl.
Item number 17 is.
It's because they.
Really?
Yes.
No,
Missing
we don't have
4, 12 through whatever. No, that's the line.
9, 10, 11, yeah.
8, 9, 10, 11. And then
You're missing that out of those?
missing a whole. There was 2 different agendas that were put out there, and then one must have been an older one, a newer one, and Mr. Pizarro thankfully did photocopy. May I approach the bench?
If it's online, I know I looked online.
Okay, but it's missing from the packet.
Online,
Oh my God.
It's not updated.
It's not updated one?
No, it's there.
The updated one is not online. 15 is there, the ones before that you read on, is, look. 8, we go 8, then 12. 8, then 12.
It looks like right. Well, that's a mistake. That was a mistake. We apologize. We apologize.
I volunteered to do the photocopy for the next board meeting. Make lots of copies.
Okay, so we're on 17. So I make a motion to approve items 1 through 16. Second. Okay. Now, does anybody have any questions or comments on personal items 1 through 16? Okay.
Why are we voting on Cheryl? I don't understand. She was our candidate for whatever.
Can't hear.
Why are we voting on Cheryl's responsibilities again? I believe because we gave them to Chad for temporarily.
She assumed those responsibilities. Ms. Ratcliffe assumed those responsibilities, and now that Ms. Ratcliffe is gone and Cheryl's back, she's assuming those responsibilities. We approved Pat for those responsibilities that are last.
She was always our lead, so I'm just kind of curious as well.
I think it's those specific responsibilities.
Yeah, I think that when we appointed Pat, I think that it was potentially the true. Because I came back on December 2nd, so it's clean, she got it on.
You can't hear.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Eisberg? Yes. Mrs. Lee? Yes. Mrs. Mendoza?
Yes.
Mr. Pedraza?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Right, well, I just want to
You have to talk into
try.
I'm sorry?
It's on.
Okay.
Before I vote, I just want to indicate that, as was pointed out earlier this evening, I have been here since 1987, so obviously this is not the first time that I've had to, as a board member, deal with a personnel matter. As Tony will put it earlier, they stink. There's nothing worse for a Board of Ed member than to have to deal with personnel issues. I'm sure he feels the same way on the council. Unfortunately, when personnel issues are brought to our attention, we have an obligation to investigate and to ask questions. Every board I've ever served on has taken that position and that responsibility very seriously. Every board I've ever served on, every personnel matter that came before us, the board has asked questions and made sure that we had sufficient evidence before we took action. The board and the public are kind of like two ships passing in the night. Everything that was said tonight I can certainly accept as being true. I don't doubt that your expressions were heartfelt. But, as a board member, I have to vote based on evidence. Unfortunately, that evidence can only be presented in conference. So while it's frustrating for you to perceive that we are taking action too fast or perhaps being unfair, the reality is that we have to vote based on evidence that's been presented to us, evidence which is not just casually presented to us, but evidence that we have discussed over and over again. Personnel matters often have a time lag as well. By the time the public kind of gets wind of what's going on, the board's already been discussing it for a period of time. That's why it may seem that the board is rushing to judgment when in fact we've been dealing with a particular situation for an extended period of time. But again, because of confidentiality, you're not going to know that. So I understand that perception. I don't believe the board in any personal case that I've been involved in has ever rushed to judgment. In fact, I think the opposite can be said, that we perhaps taken too long in some cases to finally make a determination. I think that you can have your feelings about this particular employee, and yet we could still be making the correct decision. And that's because we have this gap between us in terms of evidence. My profession is a trial attorney, so obviously I deal with evidence every day. And believe me, if there's anyone who asks questions on these matters, it's me. So at the end of the day, all I can tell you is I have to vote based on the information that's been provided to me that I feel has been vetted, that I feel has been corroborated, and which I feel justifies the action that's being taken. I'm sorry to see people leave our district, and I'll have a comment on that a little later on when we get to new business. But as far as this matter and the items on the agenda, I would vote yes.
Mrs. Wilson? Yes. Mrs. Garcia? Yes. Okay, can we go through curriculum?
Sure. Item number 1 is field trips. Item number 2, approving field trips. Item number 3 is course approvals. Item number 4, proposed approval of a workshop conference. That concludes curriculum.
That's correct. Okay. I hope you all can sleep tonight. Disgusting.
Can I have a motion to approve curriculum items 1 through 4? Second. Can I have a roll? Oh, does anybody have questions on that? Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Eisberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee? Yes. Mrs. Mendoza? Yes. Mr. Pedraza?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Wilson?
Shame on that.
Mrs. Garcia?
Yes. Okay, can we go through finance, please?
Sure. So this requests the approval of the November hand checks, payroll transfers, as well as the current December bills list. 2 is the reconciliation of the district's financial records, which are required within 60 days of the close of the month. So in order to reconcile October, it was necessary for you to go back and restate September. Number 3 is the requirement that no account can be negative at the time of the issuing of the board secretary's report and the treasurer's report. So in order for that to occur, routine adjustments to various line items and accounts need to happen to comply with that regulation. 4 is the acceptance of the annual audit that Mr. Lurch discussed earlier tonight. 5 is the approval for the corrective action plan to address the one audit finding. Number 6 is a retroactive approval for math professional development using Title I funds. 7 is a child study team request for an audiological service for an out-of-district student. 8 is the child study team request for use of neurology group in Bergen County to provide neurology evaluations on an as-needed basis for our students. Number 9 is a non-resident tuition agreement with Dr. Gray had worked with a family that's interested in placing their student here for the remainder of the school year. Number 10 is a donation from the Korean Education Center, similar to what we received last year from them. 11 is another donation from American Legion, $250 towards the purchase of athletic equipment or supplies. Number 12 is the acceptance of the high impact tutoring grant. So that was on last month's, but there's a requirement from people that we get an updated resolution. And number 13 is typical use of facilities from the PTO, the Korean Parent Association, and their basketball. That's everything I want to say.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve finance items 1 through 13? Second. Does anybody have any questions on finance items 1 through 13?
I have a question on the audit. My understanding was that it was just a mistake, an honest mistake made in terms of some kind of labeling, and there was no real discrepancy in $12.
Correct. So what had happened was they initially thought that there was a mispayment of a stipend, but in fact, when I went back through all of the files, they had pulled, or somehow the 2023 was in the 2024. So they pulled the wrong information. So we just need to be a little bit more cautious and file.
Right, and then I guess you made a comment about ESSER funds now being absorbed into the operating budget. But I thought that when we use these federal funds, that we were spending them on non-reoccurring expenses.
That's true. But I think what Rob was getting to is that even though you were using it for non-recurring, like we didn't use it for any staff and everything like that, but we did use it for things like purchasing laptops, purchasing different technology. So as we no longer have access to those funds, we are going to be using general funds for all of that.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Eisberg?
Yes, but for K1 Finance and the December check fund, I'm going to abstain from check number 015823.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Mendoza?
Yes.
Mr. Pedraza?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Garcia?
Yes. Okay, does any board member have any new or old business?
I do. I'll start, I guess, with the county meeting. I attended a county meeting at Hackensack High School. It's a Bergen County School Board Association meeting. And the topic was on staffing and on the difficulty that districts have in finding teachers. There were two legislators present, both of them were on education committees, and they fielded questions that had been prepared in advance by members of the executive committee. Tonight there was a comment made about teachers leaving the district. And quite frankly, this is, for lack of a better word, pandemic. But it's very common throughout the county, from the information I gather at the county meetings, that this is the reality we have. In addition, what compounds the problem is the fact that there's less students going to school to become teachers, and people are leaving the profession. So the purpose of the meeting was to try to brainstorm some ideas as to how we could reverse this situation. And there is some legislation afoot. One of the legislators is actually a superintendent of schools. So obviously she has her she knows what's going on firsthand. But there is some legislation kicking around to try to make it easier to bring teachers into the profession. One of the things that perhaps has the best chance of eventually getting passed is to eliminate the residency requirements, so that Norwood, for example, would be able to get teachers from, say, Rockland County, who live in Rockland County, and some of the counties in the western part of the state might be able to get people who live in Pennsylvania. So there's those types of things that are being discussed at the legislative level. So it's got to that point. Not just Norwood is having a problem, but it's across the state, and the legislature has passed some legislation to reduce certification requirements, and now they're looking to expand that. 2 days later, on Saturday the 7th, I attended a delegate assembly down at Mercer Community College. There were about 8 resolutions that were voted on, 2 of which may have some impact in Norwood. One was on development pilots. Pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes. Norwood, my understanding is, has been allocated 161 Mount Laurel housing units as its obligation, which means that you would have to build about 7 or 8 times that number of housing units, because usually when a development is done, about 15% of that development is Mount Laurel housing. Now, that's not a final number. Norwood has an opportunity, it's my understanding, to object to that number, and we'll see where it ends up. But many towns, rather than collect real estate taxes as you would normally assess through an assessment, a normal assessment of the property, enter into pilots with developers. And the resolution basically was to make it a policy on the part of New Jersey school boards to advocate in the legislature for inclusion of boards of education in discussions with the municipality when pilots are contemplated. That was one more thing. Okay. The second thing is actively going on in the legislature now, and again, a resolution was passed to support it, and that is that schools, as well as other public entities, can advertise electronically as opposed in newspapers. As many districts are now losing their newspaper. The Star-Ledger is no longer going to be publishing a print edition. I forget what the date is of the last edition, but it's coming up. So a lot of towns are now, they have to, by law, make publication of meetings and things like that, and now they don't have a newspaper to do it. So I think that's going to be legislation that will be passed fairly soon, and that again will have an impact, because I believe the cost factor to the district, any district, is going to be a positive one, and we'll save money by not having to publish in the newspaper. Whether you're going to be required to do it if the newspaper is still available to you, I don't know. We'll just have to see how the legislation goes, but the position of New Jersey school boards would be to advocate that the board should be allowed to advertise electronically. Lastly, on this county level, we do have on March 5th at Holden Community College our annual event where we honor students for usually seniors from high schools throughout Bergen County. And these are the unsung heroes. These are not necessarily the quarterback of the football team or the valedictorian, but rather kids who had to overcome obstacles to get themselves through high school. And these stories are incredibly moving. Last year, I know Tim was there, and he presented the student from Old Japan. I was there to announce her, and he cut me off and just started talking before I got a chance to announce it, but that's okay. But it's an incredible event, and if you want your spirits lifted, you should attend. Again, we have it at Bergen Community College this year on the 5th of March. Also, I will note the passing of Louise Sorensen. Louise is a former business administrator in Norwood, and I would ask the board to have a book dedicated in her memory, as we have done in the past with people who have passed on. Louise was a real asset to our district during the time she was here. She lived in the valley, so she had a real interest in Norwood and the valley itself. Yeah, she was a BA here, yes. She started actually, she got her degree, I believe, when she was in her 50s. She got married, had a family, and then when the kids were old enough, she went back to school, and really in her 50s, started her profession, so a lot of credit to her for that. I also attended, I guess since our last meeting, a state meeting where I'm on the board of directors at the state level of New Jersey school boards. And a couple things from that. I know, I guess virtually all of us went to workshop in October, and the workshop numbers are pretty impressive. 8,700 registrants, 450 vendors. So again, it was a very strong showing. The audit, also we do the audit in November. They're on the same fiscal year as we are. The audit did not have any deficits. And then there is new training, which will be relevant, I guess, to our new member here. It's one weekend is January 24th, and the other is February 21st. You don't have to do it on the weekend, but I would urge you to consider it because I really think it's an excellent opportunity not only to get your training all done at one time, but to meet other board members. And then finally, this May, we will elect new state officers for the New Jersey school boards, and there's 12 people who will provide nominations, and I was elected to serve as the board of directors representative for Northeast New Jersey, which is Bergen, Passaic, Essex, Hudson, and Union counties. So I'll be one of the 12 people who will be sitting on that committee to recommend a slate of officers to the membership. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else from the board have any new or old business? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn to executive session. But are we gonna come out and take action? Or are we gonna hold over? So we're going to return to executive session, and once we come out of executive session, we will take action at that time. Can I have a motion to adjourn to executive? Second. We're adjourned. 9:18.
Streamed again?
Do you think we should stream when we come back out? It's just one motion. Yeah, I guess. That means you have to stay, right?
Can I ask
Hold
a
on one
question?
second. That means you have to stay, right? No, because I don't know how long we're gonna be. We could be a while.
So you're gonna take action on what? Should we wait outside? What are we doing?